Hello, boys. How are you?
What's happening?
Great.
Well, Andrew, before you introduce who our guest is on today's Pizza and PE podcast, I have a special announcement. So we have upped our game in the Pizza and PE, the Triple P podcast, and we have launched a new delivery service where our listeners and viewers can go to one site, www.pizzape.org, where all the podcast sessions are uploaded and linked, and even our bite-sized YouTube video links. So one-stop shop. Again, it is www.pizzape.org. Andrew, who do we have today?
Well, joining us today is one of the greatest advocates for our health and PE profession, Miss Keri Schoeff. Keri currently serves as the Safe, Healthy, and Active School Student Specialist for the Arizona Department of Education, where she provides leadership on all components of Title IV-A programming, specifically ensuring that every student is provided with a safe, healthy, active, and supportive learning environment.
We have a big-time guest today. Big time.
There's a lot of titles in there.
There is. And she's a colleague and friend, too, who has, helped us through our journey in our large urban school district, too. So can't wait to have a pizza and PE conversation with her.
Absolutely. Now, your fun fact today, this is going to be amazing because it just blows my mind. The world's fastest pizza maker can make 14 pizzas in 2 minutes and 35 seconds.
Is it any good, though?
I don't care. That's a lot of dough you got to toss and spin and throw sauce on and cheese.
I mean, is there a rubric to be sure there's quality insurance with that pizza in 2 minutes? I think I might be able to be a contender, but it's not going to be that good.
Well, maybe next week you should bring some dough and we'll time how quick you can toss that dough, get it into a perfect circle with sauce and cheese, and we'll put.
I don't think it has to be totally done. I think it's just
right. It just has to be.
Right. It doesn't have to be cooked or heated. It just has to be prepared.
Correct.
Yes. And the two of you know that I'm just joking because I don't like cooking. You know that.
Well, I just wonder if, that's quicker than our new pizza delivery service right there.
Oh, just typing pizzape.org? Yes. I can do that in less than 2 minutes.
In 35 seconds.
All right. So again, I'm so excited to have Keri Schoeff on our podcast because in the past, and I've been thinking about this over the weekend about who we've had on the Pizza and PE podcast. I'm so grateful and humble to be surrounded by all these great colleagues in the health and PE world because we've had a principal. That was our inaugural Pizza and PE podcast. We've had a former Shape America president and currently the executive director of Kentucky Shape. We've had a chief operating officer of a curriculum company, a professor and former North Carolina DPI, Department of Public Instruction consultant, and 2 National Hall of Fame PE teachers. That now we have somebody who works for the Department of Education. Keri Schoeff, welcome.
Good morning. Well, it's good afternoon for you guys. Good morning, everyone. How are you?
We are fantastic. So good to see you.
It's good to see you too.
So it's truly lunchtime for us and we're eating pizza and it's 12:30 our time, but 9:30 your time. So you're probably still, if you're a coffee drinker, drinking your coffee, but we truly eat pizza every single podcast. So it's lunchtime for us. So.
Well, it looks delicious.
Mm-hmm.
You can throw some eggs on your pizza, call it breakfast pizza.
I think I'll pass, but thanks.
Isn't that called quiche? Breakfast pizza?
Now quiche, that's a different story. I'm always down for a good quiche.
Does that come frozen too? Can I heat that up?
You can. You can.
You can find anything frozen. I'm sure you know all the items you can find frozen. Let's be honest.
Right, because if it can't be cooked in a crock pot or an Instapot, it's usually frozen. That's how I roll.
Or if you can't
no shame. Yep. No shame in that game. No shame.
No.
She only has 2 aisles that she has to shop in at the grocery store.
or I go out to eat. This is correct. Okay, this is about Keri, not about my nutritional habits and how I cook.
That's a different.
To get us started, explain your background, how you became a teacher, what is your education experience, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us about yourself.
So, born and raised in Arizona. I did go to high school here in Arizona, and then I went to college in Ohio at Malone University, which is a really small, at that time it was an NAIA affiliated school. So I have a big track and field and soccer background. I was a soccer player and a track and field athlete. I actually did the heptathlon in college at the national level. And so I had lots of fun playing soccer and participating in all those events in track and field. And I thought, what was a great way that I could continue to pursue activity and help others learn to love exercise the way that I did. And so I thought, I might want to be a sports psychologist. So I took a couple of classes and that was my major. And I was like, this really isn't for me. And I met with my advisor and they were like, you should go into physical education. And I was like, that's a great idea. So I became a high school physical education teacher, specifically focusing on secondary, because I feel that there's a lot of development at the elementary school level, but we didn't really develop at the high school level. And I thought I'd like to make a difference in doing so. And so I went into high school physical education and I taught high school PE for 15 years. And I was getting pretty stagnant as a high school PE teacher. I wasn't engaged with our state organization all that much. I wasn't engaged at the Shape America national level. And quite honestly, I'll talk a little bit more about that later. But I just didn't feel like there was engagement at the high school level for PE teachers. And so I saw the State Department of Ed listing and I thought, what a great opportunity that would be for me to expand not only my profession, but to really help engage some of those secondary. It's just an underserved percentage of our profession in that there's resources just aren't out there. And so I went to the Department of Ed and I've been at the Department of Education now for 10 years in May. I started as a CDC grant funded through the Coordinated School Health Grant. And now I work in Title IV-A and I review federal grants as a profession. So I keep my PE and health focus in every grant that I review. And as my title says, it's kind of like my job to make sure that our students have a safe, healthy, and active learning environment and one that's supported in all of those facets. So that's what I do. That's why I'm here and kind of my story.
So Keri, when you review those Title IV grants, are you just reviewing Title IV grants for your state of Arizona, or are you reviewing Title IV grants across the globe in the US?
So it's just specific to Arizona. So Arizona has 502 LEAs, and LEA is a local education agency. So an LEA might be a single site charter school, or an LEA might be Charlotte-Mecklenburg Public Schools, right? So each LEA either functions in a different role. And so we review grants. There's a team of us here in Arizona, and each of us has a little bit of a different focus, but we all review grants at the LEA level. So like I said, sometimes it's a $10,000 single site charter, and sometimes it's Mesa Public Schools, which is our largest school district. And, they've got a $1.4 million Title IV-A budget. So we review everything in that grant, from grant compliance and the fiscal side, making sure all the budgets align. And then we also review the programmatic side. Is this allowable program? Is this really the best use of funding with your Title IV-A dollars? And then we have professional development that we provide, and we do all kinds of things, but it's just specific to the work that we do here in Arizona.
Okay, so does that, is your process also, is that the same process across other states? Like, for example, in North Carolina, when you talk about Title IV funding, that's every student succeeds at, that's part of ESSA. Does my federal coordinator of grant funding, does she or he have to go to you to get approval of those funds?
So that's a great question. It looks a little different in every state. There are lots of states that have Title 4A only grant reviewers. There are other states where one person is responsible to review an LEA's Title 1, Title 2, Title 4A, Title 4B, RLIS, which is rural and low-income students, Title 5. Like every state agency kind of operates a little differently. And so you'll find that it varies across the state. And that's true, same at the school level, right? Like if you look at how in the world do you get federal funds, it looks different for every school and every LEA across this country. So
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to clarify too, because our process is somewhat different, but when it comes to federal dollars, you all have to play by what those guidelines are, despite what state you are in. So we do have a federal funding coordinator, director in our department, that anything that we have to propose, it has to go through him or her and be basically those funds earmarked for certain requirements. And we get audited. And we have to put in, how we use those funds and show our anticipated outcomes and what happened with that funding and so forth. So sort of the same, we all have to play by the same guidelines for that federal funding, but the process to get it might be different from state to state. So thanks for clarifying.
Sure thing.